Oh, so I'm here with Woosley. I really like Woosley's channel. Moments like this, I wish I had the super chat, but they don't have it in Romania.
I still ain't got that.
Well, nothing much. Thought we could chill because we've been trying to do this for like what, 3 months now.
Yeah.
So what were you saying about London and the Muslims there?
I wasn't saying anything about London and the Muslims here. I was saying I found it funny when you made that video where you basically walked around and you're like, yeah, nothing's happening here.
Yeah, and you know, I obviously realized that if you go into a Muslim community and you're a guy, then they're not going to do anything towards you. So that's why I had the bottle of beer in my hand, you know, in order to try to entice anyone to basically. What I expected was that if someone would pick at me, they would go on and say, hey, you're not allowed to drink here, blah, blah, blah. You know, and I would have been, yeah, cool, but I would have it on tape, you know, I would have had it recorded.
Yeah.
But nothing happened. And I walked into this bakery store that was a Muslim bakery, and the guy said that, oh, yeah, you know, we had the problem back in the day, but the police arrested them.
Yeah, whereabouts was that? Do you remember?
Luton.
Well, the bakery was in Luton.
Yeah.
Weren't you in London?
Yeah. It was with the meetup with the other skeptics, and then I basically left because my plane was going to arrive. So when I left, I had to go to the Luton airport.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, maybe. If anyone's gonna be aware of that stuff more than anyone else, I guess it would be someone who's working in a Muslim bakery.
Yeah, that's why I went there, and I was like, you know, I'm new here, I'm a tourist, blah 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 blah. Is it okay if I drink alcohol? Because I don't want to offend the culture. I'm not really familiar. They were like, oh, that's okay. There's no problem.
You're trying to bait them.
Yeah. I mean, I did try to bait them.
Yeah.
Wuzulu, you want to get on? Let me know if you want to get on, Wuzulu.
Oh, is Usually around?
Yeah.
Yeah, Usually one. Fucking gay-ass pink wizard. Have him talking about Muslims.
So yeah, I'm going to London again on 19th. I'm coming with my with a lady, Romanian lady, on Thursday. So
yeah, cool.
Let me let's get Wuzulu. Yeah, if you're in London, we can have a beer.
Yeah, I'm at 19th. Yeah, that might be weird. I might be working. I don't know.
So, what do you think about the whole Google thing?
Is anyone surprised? Really? I mean, like, what was it? Someone said that they were annoyed that Sargon was coming up in recommended when they watched an SJW video.
Yeah, basically, allegedly, someone on Breitbart said that who's working for Google that their friends are really upset that they watch like their favorite social justice warrior blogger, and then they see a recommended video of Sargon.
Someone else did make that complaint. You know who? Zoe Quinn.
Oh, really?
Yep. That's why she said apparently she doesn't like uploading to YouTube because it's like, oh, I upload a funny video about my cat or something like where she's got a fucking microchip in a fucking arsehole, I don't know. And then suddenly she's like, and then they get like about 50 videos debunking me in the sidebar.
Well, I mean, the thing is, this happened before with the atheists and the evangelicals. You know, you have a lot of creationists on YouTube, and none of the SJWs back then complained that the atheists were beating the shit out of their arguments. You know, and now that the situation is reversed, that they're spouting nonsense. I mean, for fuck's sake, Slate.com has published an article today denying science. I'm not even joking. Let me pick it up so you can.
In its entirety, or
yeah, because of the Google thing, you know, because the Google manifesto was pretty much scientifically based, and Slate just made an article saying, "Oh, fuck science! It's not is not about improving men's lives and blah blah blah. So we should just fuck science. It's like, what?
Okay.
Let me just get the article because I couldn't believe
Fuck
when
science,
I was reading
son.
it. Yeah, fuck science. It's like okay, now you've reached creationist level. You know, now it's like the Earth is 6,000 years old, and there's 15 genders on it.
It is whatever I say it is, bitch. Fuck your facts.
Wasn't Slate hired to check facts at one point?
I don't know. I'm losing track with all that stuff. Snopes was
Oh yeah, it was Snopes. It wasn't Slate. No,
Yeah.
my bad.
but there was a bunch of them, wasn't there? Where they were like kind of correlating them or something.
Yeah. And it's like, okay. And you know, it's funny because the left always thinks themselves that only the right is against science. And when you show, you know, like a leftist, like a hard leftist, you show, look, like the thing with the genders, it's not scientific. And they go like, oh, well, no one gets hurt because of that, blah, blah, blah. And then you look at Britain spending like over 3 million pounds on promoting gender identity. And it's like, what? Okay, so look at this. This is just absolutely brilliant. It's okay. Can you see my screen?
Oh yeah, there we go.
What do you think of this title?
Stop equating science with truth. Oh. Okay.
Well, to be fair to them, they have put science in quotes, so they're trying to imply that something that people say is science isn't necessarily true.
Stop trying to be fair. I'm choosing side. You fucking faggot.
Like evolutionary psychology is just the most obvious example of science's flaws.
It's really not, though.
If
It's pretty
something-
well established.
If something applies the scientific method, then it's scientific. That's why it's called the scientific method. So it starts off the bat by creating a straw man and beating the shit out of it.
Oh, hang on. This is because he went on about men like things as opposed to something or other. What was it?
Everything he said was backed up by studies and peer reviewed. Women like people, men like things.
That's it.
In general, right? So we're not talking about, individual cases. So it's like, and whether we entitled to a workplace that isn't toxic to people simply based on their gender and sex. And the thing is, like the guy working at Google said that the reason he wrote the manifesto is because he was forced to these like diversity meetings that were secret. Like every other meeting at Google was videotaped, but the diversity ones were mandatory and they weren't videotaped. And back there, they would say like all men are sexist, all white people are racist, blah 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 blah, like the nonsense. And he said like, look, you're wrong. The facts that you're saying are wrong. But apparently not. Apparently, like companies should indoctrinate people.
The people that write this kind of garbage article are just hoping that no one will actually read what he wrote. It's a shame. Like
No.
You can't read. You can't write something innocent and accurate enough that can't be just lied about by the media if they want to.
Dude, they get like 264 comments. To be fair, it's quite small. But there's a lot of people sharing it. I'm shocked that the person who came up to the guy's defense is Anna Kasparian on the Young Turks.
Yeah, I saw that. How do you know people are sharing it, by the way?
Because I do check Twitter and Facebook regularly. Not this article from Slate, but they're sharing the idea that basically the guy was doing horrible things, and it's
I see. That's inevitably going to happen. It's just
look, it has 1.7 thousand shares on Twitter.
That's what I was about to say. Right? Don't trust that shit. You can easily fake that, and I know that some of them do.
I mean, I got it from the Twitter, so
it depends how they're measuring it. If they've got a counter that counts tweets that mention the URL, that's different. But if they've just got their own standalone counter, not only can you fake that, but I know that some sites do.
Yeah, I heard about them buying clicks. Like you would go.
No. It's not even that. She just changed the number in the back end.
Yeah, but they also like buy clicks. So for instance, they go to those websites where you get like 10 cool things about blah, and when you go on there,
Or BuzzFeed.
You constantly have to click from like things number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And every time you click, you get an ad, right?
Yeah.
So they will, like, websites like that will actually sell the clicks to something like BuzzFeed, for instance, so that BuzzFeed can get better deals with ad revenues, because they don't get clicks on their garbage. They don't get clicks on their website. So they buy clicks from other websites in order to make themselves look bigger, so that people with that have companies want to advertise on BuzzFeed. I think what's his name, Tim something, made
Tim Pool.
Yeah, he actually made a video about this and explained it.
You didn't stay long enough to meet him, did you?
No, I didn't have time. I was pissing with Dr. Rhonda McCamp. It was fun.
Fair enough.
I pissed 3 times with Dr. Rhonda McCamp. Do you know how huge that guy is?
Did you mean to say pissing?
Hold on. In what context here, V?
In the context that I had alcohol.
You don't go for a piss with someone and come back and go, this guy's huge.
Okay, in the context that I had alcohol in my system and I had to go through it.
Okay.
And no, but the guy is actually huge in size. Like he
still not any better.
Yeah. But listen, he towers over mortal men.
Nope. Keep going. Keep trying. V, all I want to know is, does it have a Ushanka as well? You know, I'm actually about the same size.
Really?
Maybe a little bit taller, actually.
He's a bit more muscular. He's a little bit more well built compared to you, though.
Probably.
For those of you who don't know, Uzuru looks like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, you know what V looks like, and that's not an insult coming from you. I'm kidding. I do a little bit, I guess. At least I don't look like a literal citrus fruit, though. If I can remove citrus.
I'm actually curious how.
Oh, I know. Was that thing at me? Okay.
Maybe.
Shit, wait.
Do you have a camera?
Look like the fucking devil from what's it, Futurama? There you go.
That's not an insult.
To you.
Well, no, or to anyone who's got any sense.
All right, whatever. Fuck you. Don't care.
Shall we talk about what went on? So listen, everyone was drunk, and Sargon was talking about us going to piss on Karl Marx's grave.
Yes. Okay.
I wonder if Willy Bumblebee, if she hears about this, she's going to chimp out. but yeah, no, like I was with the idea that we need to find a Jew so that he can draw a swastika on Karl Marx's grave. Because, like, what are they going to accuse him of? Because I looked in the legislation in the United Kingdom, and apparently desecrating graves is not illegal unless you desecrate Jewish graves. No, I'm not kidding. Like that is a thing. Yeah, that is a thing. Like, you can desecrate graves, and there is no law that's going to basically punish you for it.
Yeah, no, there is a thing there, because you can basically, like, that's why you can't like bulldoze and build over Jewish grave sites. That's why, like, somewhere in Hackney, there's like a tiny little grave site that's been there for about fucking 300 years, which is just overgrown. No one fucking knows about it, but it's Jewish, so no one can build over it. Yeah,
so I looked at the fine, you know, like what happens if you desecrate the Jewish grave, and it was like a fine, like, I don't know, 500 pounds, 1,000 pounds, and I was like, you know what, like we can pay that, you know, just for the checks. Like, if someone draws a swastika over Karl Marx's grave, because guess what, Karl Marx is Jewish.
Sorry, lads, we have the funding, we can do it.
And I said,
now we just need to find a Jew.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what, if we find a Jewish person, imagine prosecuting that. Like, imagine you're the DA and you have like this case coming up on your desk, like, Jewish person desecrates Jewish graves. Who did he desecrate? Karl Marx. What did he do? He drew a swastika. You know, it's like, how are the news journalists?
A confusing case, yeah.
They probably wouldn't do that. They'd probably just say white man desecrates Karl Marx memorial. They probably wouldn't even call it Karl Marx. They'll probably say like ancient memorial or something, or historical monument.
But the funny fact is that we actually find a Jewish transsexual that was willing to do it.
You had a Jewish transsexual?
We had a Jewish transsexual there. But the
Holy
problem
shit,
is
talk about diversity.
Yeah, eventually we snapped out of being drunk, so we could, like, okay, no. No, not a good idea.
I just like the idea of putting the McDonald's like fries container on Marx's grave.
I wanted to go there and put like a McDonald's on Karl Marx's
Mhm.
grave as well. You know, like show the corporate logo of the. Jesus Christ! You know, Karl Marx didn't do anything. Karl Marx didn't do nothing. Well, to be fair, I mean, he was a philosopher. I'm not even sure if he ever thought that his philosophy is going to be applied.
Well, the predictions did seem to be serious.
Well, that's how he viewed the world. You know, I'm not going to blame the guy for what Lenin did.
No, I mean the predictions about communism emerging in the West, or like in wealthy countries, about class uniting people more than nationality. His predictions about like the idea that communism was post-capitalism, it's all wrong.
Oh.
He was clearly working from broken fundamentals. It's the only way you get that wrong.
Well, apparently the reason communism didn't work in the West is because they had a very strong middle class. And
Because of capitalism.
Yeah, it was really easy for, you know, someone that's basically a peasant to ascend to the middle class, and for middle people to go back being poor, or for rich to go. I mean, in a normal healthy society, you do have like the movement of people.
Yeah.
You go from poverty to middle class. You know, you can even go to upper class if you're really lucky, and then you fall back down. People are more mobile than, you know, it used to be. It's not set in stones.
Yeah, social mobility is really important. IMO.
And this is something that I also talked about, saying, you know, most of the complaints that Karl Marx had were valid towards capitalism, and back then, yeah, at the time. But and people that are communists now, they take it out of the time context. You know, back then, if you are a factory worker, you would work like 12 hours a day for very little pay, and that was your life. You couldn't just, you know, save money and buy something, because most of the money you were making were actually used to buy clothes and buy food and whatnot. And if you had like a work accident, that was it. You didn't get like any health care. You didn't get any time off. You know. So anyway, Uzulu, someone asked, when are you going to make more videos?
Who would ever ask that?
Sorry, not Uzulu, Wesley.
Oh,
right,
sorry.
that makes more sense.
Yeah, soon. Very soon. Soon, TM.
Valve soon.
Yeah.
Someone said that I look like a Jew. But it's interesting that, you know, the guy that Google fired, it would be so funny if it turns out to be Jewish, because the entire alt-right defended him. And I'm curious how they would react if they find out that they defended the Jewish.
Half of them would say one good one, and half of them would say never mind.
They would never, like the alt-right would never, ever say that this is a good Jew. They can't. It goes against their ideology.
To be fair, I haven't heard anyone say it, but I wouldn't be surprised if some did.
That's a weird thing when you've got an ideology like that. You can kind of forgive anything that's in favor of it. So they probably would just go, see, even the Jews get it. Even the Jews get it. Fucking skeptics. What the fuck?
I mean, there was like this case where Israel banned Al Jazeera, and they didn't really ban Al Jazeera. Now, for those of you who don't know, Al Jazeera is basically like Qatarian propaganda.
No. They're a completely honest and decent, objective media outlet.
It's pretty much like Russia Today, but on steroids. You know, at least Russia Today did criticize Russia when they invaded Ukraine.
And Russia is at least in principle democratic.
Yeah. So, like, Al Jazeera constantly, nonstop talks against Israel. Al Jazeera nonstop constantly talks about diversity and, you know, why slavery is bad, while Qatar, the ones funding them, are having slaves. You know. So, apparently they got banned from Israel, but they didn't really get banned. They just had their press passes removed, which is like, you're not entitled to it, you know?
Question. Is that what those adverts I've been seeing on YouTube where like some people want to ban Al Jazeera?
Yeah.
Have been about. Yeah.
They
fucking bullshit.
Yeah, they do their press passes. It's like not, you know, it's not that people can't watch Al Jazeera. Now they're actually going to have to move their ass and do actual investigation.
Yeah, that honestly, like, I have no sympathy for them whatsoever. And the media smear campaign, the spin campaign, rather, they're trying to run to defend themselves, just makes it even worse.
And the alt-right were fuming. Sorry, no, they weren't fuming about it. They were like, "Oh yeah, you know, the Jews did it, but they're still Jews." And blah, blah, blah.
I don't even understand. Like,
somewhere.
even if they think there's something inherent in Jews that makes them bad, surely just basic logic tells them that it doesn't apply to every single one universally, absolutely.
No, but it's like
Surely.
no. It's like social justice. You know, they go yes all men, or all cops. Like they start noticing a problem, they start noticing a trend, and as they radicalize further and further, they start using like yes all cops. You know, all cops are racist. All white people are racist.
I guess I shouldn't expect a lot of like rational thought from these people, but I guess some of them I expect it from. But I don't know. I'm just sure. I'm sure there's some of them who are more rational than to think that literally every single Jew contains these negative qualities and can't be an aid to, you know, taking down the regressive left.
Well, I did have a conversation with the gentleman on my channel that was alt-right, was a white nationalist. And I asked him, it's like, okay, what if you would send every individual Jew on trial, and you know, if they committed a crime, then you arrest them, and if they didn't, you let them go. And he said, well, even the ones that didn't commit a crime, he would still deport them. And it's like, but why? Why? They didn't do anything. And he says like, oh well, isn't it sad? I mean, like punishing them for forcing them not to live with their people. They need to live with their people. And it's like, oh,
it's compassionate, is it? Yeah.
It's always about compassion. I think some of the worst ideologies on earth are based on compassion.
Yep.
Take social justice, for instance. You know.
I think it more uses compassion as like a totem. The people in there, they have like such shallow compassion for such a shallow range of targets. It's like you can do compassion completely wrong.
Yeah, death is the sentence. It's out of compassion. Like every single time, you know. But yeah, what do you think about it, Wesley?
Well, that's kind of what it's like. Did you remember an episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns tries to be good, and he ends up basically like coming up with loads of ways to fuck up the sea and everything? And like, there's something weird about if someone's an arsehole and they own it and they revel in it, we love them. Because, you know, there's something really liberating about seeing somebody who's just free and doesn't give a fuck about what people think about him, just be whatever they want to be.
Dude, but they can trim the dead cells from the system. That's what arseholes are good for.
But the thing is, when someone is an arsehole, but they act like they're a decent person, they kind of corrupt everything that is decent.
I kind of see what you mean, yeah.
So in a way, like, you know, there's something incredibly just about people who do that kind of shit. Hence, social justice.
Yeah, I think in terms of that, in terms of like personal conduct, as long as someone is acting honestly, it doesn't really matter what they are. Like, okay, there are some extremes where it does, but
yeah,
within reasonable bounds. Yeah, but within reasonable bounds, like it doesn't matter that much. As long as like if they're acting dishonestly, that's just a distortion in the system. It's not something that you should ever want.
Let me give you an example. The alt-right was talking. Sargon was talking to the alt-right, and he asked like one of them, do you think the Holocaust is wrong? And obviously he said, you know, well, they deny it because they're alt-right and it's part of their ideology. Like, no, it didn't happen. And then Sargon said, but okay, what if it did happen? Or what if it would happen tomorrow? Would you be against it? They can't deny it. They can't say that's bad. And then you have the communists like Bad Mouse. And I asked Bad Mouse, you know, the murdering of the kulaks, can you condemn it? It's like middle peasants, millions of them, butcher. Oh no, we have to as socialists, we have to and it's like, what is with that expression? Is this like how you justify murdering millions of people now? But it's out of compassion, you know. In both cases, like the alt-right is compassionate about white people, so it's okay to kill the Jews, and the communists are compassionate about the workers, and it's okay to kill the middle peasants. And the Islamic guy who was like, oh, it's out of compassion that we need to kill the gays.
And who was that other guy as well? With he was trying to defend Maduro, saying like, oh yeah, he's not doing anything, nothing's going wrong, and everything. Whilst there's like video footage of people being shot. Well, not being shot in the street, but definitely being rounded up and having the shit kicked out of them. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, I think it's like once you're into the ideology and you think you understood the world, and it's usually like very simple to explain. For communists, is that the rich are oppressing the poor, and that's the mindset. For white nationalists, is that the Jews are oppressing white people, and everything has to be explained through that lens. And once you go through that, you stop judging rationally. Like the individual doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't, like for the communists, for instance, locking 10 people up that were innocent is worth it if you get one guilty person, because the guilty person can now poison the others. So it's the same, like killing, basically like doing the Holocaust all over again. It's perfectly fine even if you kill innocents, because in the end you're going to create a utopia.
That's depressing.
I wonder like why people like Sarah Skittles goes like, you're misrepresenting white nationalism. There's like 6 million forms of it. They never like really contradict me when I say I'm misrepresenting communism.
Oh, Sarah who? Skittles.
Yeah, some person in the comment section. They never complain when I'm misrepresenting feminism, or when I'm misrepresenting communism, or socialism.
Yeah.
It's like, it's oversimplification. He demands we judge people as individuals and then treats all nationalist fascists as racial supremacists that want to gas the Jews. Mate, it's the ideology.
I love how Hitler was the most successful socialist.
Was he? I mean,
he was one hair away from taking over the world. If he wasn't quite as paranoid and hadn't invaded Russia, and if Japan hadn't fucked with America.
No, that's just a misrepresentation. He needed to invade Russia because he needed oil. He would have lost the war. And I honest to God think, given how many tanks Russia had, that they were preparing to invade Europe, regardless of who would have won. They would have waited until either Hitler beated the United Kingdom or the United Kingdom beated Germany, and then they would have just stormed it with tanks.
Okay.
The thing which Hitler should have done...
he did make a lot of mistakes, though, is what I'm saying.
Well, obviously, in war there are a lot of mistakes, but the thing which I would have done if I was Hitler, I would have joined Russia as the saviors and liberators rather than conquerors, because there were a lot of factions that didn't like Stalin at all, and they did view themselves as being oppressed. And this was actually a plan that was pushed for Hitler, but obviously the ideology didn't allow them, because they're Slavs, they're worse than human, blah, blah, blah. I mean, think about it. You go into Russia, you capture soldiers, and then you go like, right, you guys are just farmers. I know you don't want to fight, and you just let them go. And they will go back to their houses, and then the commissars are going to shoot them because they've been deserters, yeah.
I've discovered a side effect of making the art for your channel.
What?
I've just got an email from someone. I won't read it verbatim, but I'll read it verbatim but without the name. Hello, I'm Name. I'm starting a new channel, and I learned from V that you could make me art. So this guy wants me to make art for him. I assume he wants it for free.
Well, of course, naturally.
So good job there, V.
Yeah, but anyway, like imagine if you'd allow the soldiers to go back and they're being shot by the commissars. You would even enrage the Russian people harder towards the Stalin dictatorship. But yeah, anyway.
Is that your gaydar was?
No, don't mind me. You may be hearing that at random points throughout the evening.
All right.
I can't really go into too much about what it is.
I won't ask you to then, until the stream is over.
Yeah. Ask me when. Ask me then.
What do you think about the crowd scenario, Wesley?
Which one?
The one
What drama has he done
Rage
this?
After
Which
Storm.
specific aspect of the Kraut situation?
The one with Rage After Storm.
What about the Twitter thing?
Yeah.
For the record, I just don't care.
Yeah, I don't like. Here's the thing. Ordinarily, should you have like should you do that? Probably not. And he admitted that he probably shouldn't have done it. But if there is one aspect of it where you are going to do it, there is like one part where you can go to somebody and say, "What do you think about this person's opinions?" Is when they're like part of a political movement. And that thing, as I understand it, was kind of like the youth branch of UKIP or something.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? If that's what you're doing, people have a right to go, okay, well, this person who's working for you is saying this shit. Is that something that you're on board with, or what? That's the one place you can do it, because that's the one place where you can't really say.
No, I told him he shouldn't have done it. I told him he was an idiot. But I mean, I kind of get emotionally where he's coming from, even if I disagree with it. Apparently, there were a lot of people on the alt-right that were trying to get his channel shut down by reporting his videos.
Any excuse.
Oh.
Well, no, but you can see the mindset. You know, obviously, you're going to be enraged when something like that happens. Like, people go after your income. You know, it's one of the most despicable things that you can do, obviously, which is why
it wasn't income.
What it did. What?
It wasn't income.
His YouTube channel isn't income? Of course it is.
Oh no, I thought you meant. I thought you were justifying the rage. No, hold on. I thought you. No, hold on, B. Hold on. I'm trying to explain what I meant. I thought you were trying to justify the rage the alt-right felt because Kraut went after Rage's income.
No, the rage Kraut felt, basically. Yes. And Rage After Storm apparently released a race realist video that was talking about how black people don't understand the concept of time or some shit.
Yeah, that's what started it. I don't think it.
Yeah, that was
I don't know. I haven't got
just how
interested.
deep in an ideology you need to be in order to say some shit like that. It's like, just go to a black man on the street and ask him what time it is. And I don't care how many studies you have, but if the white black man tells you the time, you know, and it's just a completely random experiment.
That's the thing. She wasn't deep into the ideology. What she did was she made a video the same way some fucking like 14-year-olds do their homework. You know, they get like a little passage of a book or something that they're meant to read. They go, okay, well, this bit says this. So if I just quote that bit, then it will look like I've read that book. And, you know, it looks well informed from that. But anyone who knows can tell. And she basically did that. She cobbled together a video that she thought people would like, that she's probably like had a load of people from the alt-right and poll and shit say like, oh yeah, you should do this, you should do more of that. And then she did it, and she realized that that's a very, very small portion of people that actually watch her.
Right, but still, you know, like I disagree with it. Like what he should have done is should have made a video debunking that shit and mocking her and laughing at her. That's what I would have done.
They did do that, didn't they?
I'm not aware. What I know he did is he went to Twitter and he basically contacted, you know, the person that she blogs at and told him about that shit. And I was like, dude, why? You know, but apparently, like, he even felt bad. So after half an hour, he removed his tweet. And the guy from UKIP apparently said that no, it's not because of you. It's not because of what you did, but it's because of basically other people did it as well. Like, we didn't even see your tweet.
Yeah, what this is an instance of Kraut doing something that people believe is against, like, is immoral, but in practice, Kraut had no effect.
He didn't have effect. Yeah, okay, he didn't have effect, but
Kraut hasn't actually done anything wrong materially, but he did something that is considered immoral by some.
Pick up a gun that has, you know, blind bullets, and you don't know it has blind bullets, and you shoot someone. You know, it's the same shit. Like, the intent is
that's
there.
what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the action itself is viewed as immoral by many people, but the effect was not immoral, like, objectively.
Yeah, the effect was not objectively. However, you know, the problem with Kraut, and I did tell him this, and I still maintain it, is that he is such a moral faggot. You know, he constantly judges people based on his morality. And I told him, mate, stop doing that, because when you do that, other people are going to judge you in return. Like, they will wait for you to slip up, and you're human, and you will slip up. And obviously he did. And now he's going to have to clean up the mess that he did.
Yep, I agree. I haven't got much involved in it, but people have been, a few people from the alt-right have been angry at me that I'm not basically towing their line in moral fagging against Kraut. I did talk to him briefly in private. I think I was there with V at the time, and I voiced, like, I wouldn't have done that. But he'd already apologized and retracted it, so there's not much point. We're not going to change his mind. His mind's already been changed. So it's just anything beyond that, any involvement beyond that, is just moralizing. It's just purity testing. I'm just not interested in it.
I don't need my friends to be like Mother Teresa. I had
Yeah,
really horrible
yeah.
friends. I had gypsies as friends that actually committed crimes and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not too bothered by his actions. Just
I choose who I associate myself with. And I did tell crowd that that's a scummy thing to do. Stop doing it. Apparently, people say that he didn't apologize. And I told him to apologize, but just posted on Twitter or something like.
That's the thing. Like he admitted he was wrong, but he didn't actually say the words like, "Oh, I'm sorry for the what I did." But that's, I mean, come on. Like, how far do you have? How much fucking do you need?
Paul Zuck is very upset that I said he apologized when I said before, I just don't care about this issue. I thought he had apologized. I didn't know.
Apparently, he also said that everyone that's leaving his channel is an alt-righter or something like that. But to be fair, like most people that were on his ass were people from the alt-right and SJWs. Like for the first time ever, SJWs and alt-right joined their forces against Kraut.
Against Kraut, yeah.
Because he did something a month ago that he retracted.
I mean, I think I saw an article on Daily Stormer when they managed to get a feminist fired, and they were also really happy about it. I didn't see anyone being outraged or say, guys, we should stop doing this shit. SJWs are always getting people fired, and it's like, and the thing that they tried is like contacting Sargon to like, why are you take down This Week in Stupid, take it down, don't you know what Cloud did?
Yep.
And it's like, well,
Sargon's the one that's started using the word purity testing in this context. I hardly think you're going to reach him by asking him to purity test against a friend who's barely done anything wrong.
Well, no, I disagree. I still think he did horrible, but it's not the fact that just that he contacted it. It's the fact that he's moral fagging. I don't stop moral fagging. This is something that I constantly say. If you want to judge people, judge them by their own morals, because then no one can even like complain about you. It's like if I am to judge a communist, I judge him based on his morals.
Yeah, that is better, but I think it's still within the Rubicon of. Or rubric, I can't remember, of moral fagging, and so I try to avoid both.
And also, like the alt-right, the way they were spinning the story, Jesus fucking Christ! Like when I heard it from Crowd, it was completely different. It was like the initial story is that he doxed her, and then he phoned her employer, and then he managed to get her fired. Like that's the story that was spun, And it's like, well, just. Why are you making shit up? It's already bad what he did. You don't have to overblown and exaggerate it.
Yeah,
It's also like I don't understand why people keep saying it's like I'm with Kraut or something. Like I haven't spoken with the guy until recently when I talked to him about this, but I really don't talk with him that often.
Yeah, he doesn't hop in the voice chats very often. Same here. I mean, people. I think there's a tendency towards people thinking that anyone who's friends that they don't like are in constant cahoots. But I like in the last month, I've talked to Kraut for maybe a total of 15 minutes, and that was with other people in the call.
I mean, I'm talking with Atheism is Unstoppable as well. If you want to have something against me, pick on that, because that's, I think, even worse.
Oh God, you get loudmouth on your ass.
Talk with Satan. No, I started talking with him because some faggot, I don't know who he was, but he annoyed the fuck out of me. He goes to Bering and tells Bering that, look, I managed to get one of your Patreons removed because...
Dude, that's exactly what I was talking about, loudmouth.
Yeah, loudmouth. Okay.
He's such a fucking moral fag. He's exactly what we've been describing.
Yeah, he goes on to Bering's Patreons and like gets one Patreon to stop supporting Bering because he spoke with Atheist and it's Unstoppable. And I'm like,
the way he presents it isn't quite that nefarious, but in effect, that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm going to talk with Atheism is Unstoppable just to piss you off. And it's like, why would you talk with someone that's a doxer? Because I want to. That's all the reason you need. My dick woke up one day and wanted to talk with Atheism is Unstoppable.
I'm very far past caring about the initial actions at this point. whatever, do whatever.
But I think people don't understand that you can disagree with someone and really not like what that person did, but you can still have a civil conversation. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ! If I were to go at work knowing that some doctors take bribe and shit, which is common in Romania, by the way, every single hospital probably does. I was like, oh no, I'm not going to talk with this doctor because he takes bribes. I don't take bribes. But anyway.
For anyone interested, I won't go into detail, but the stream that Loudmouth had with Bering, they both were misinformed and made some terrible arguments. If you actually want the information about that, I have an evidence dump on my website, oozlu.net/AIU. I've changed it recently to be really neutral, but it's just a dump of evidence, and I recommend anyone that's interested in the topic, which I'm really not, informs themselves there before doing anything else. My only interest is to make people aware of the information, because I don't like people being uninformed when I have the information that would inform them.
I talked with a Vice journalist today. I feel so dirty. He wanted to play Civ 6 with me.
Holy shit, really?
Oh, yeah.
I thought when you asked Sargon that, you were just completely speculative, but no, you actually got the invite. Cool.
No, it's like he was a decent chap actually for a Vice journalist. I think he was not into the politics side, and he was more into the like the entertainment side, where they get like 5 crazy things about ants and shit like that.
Vice has done some good work.
Yeah, I mean, God, like there is no purity test when it comes to the mainstream media. I mean, it's the thing that every single, like, you can name me a publication and I'll show you something they did bad.
Yeah, sure.
And this is why I read both the left and the right. This is why I read Daily Stormer, because people laugh. But I also watch the Young Turks. I read the right stuff, and I also read the Guardian. I try to read everything to get all the points as much as I can, because I also have to read for university. But I am trying to get pretty much every single point of view that I can in order to stay as informed as possible.
Yeah, it seems like you occasionally, I mean, reasonably too, agree with the Young Turks on things when they're being reasonable.
Jesus, I think there was like once or twice where I agreed with Daily Storm.
Well, on Corbyn, for example, you wanted him to fuck up the UK for you.
Yeah, I think it was with Corbyn or something that I don't remember when I agreed with them. But the reason that it pissed me off and it showed me what would happen if these Puritans would ever get into power and control the culture. Like, listen, everyone that watches my channel, I will uncover a mystery right now. The reason why I despise white nationalists and the reason I started my channel. Someone fucked with my video games. All right? This is the problem that I took major issue with. And when I see on the Daily Stormer that they're now fucking with the video game Mafia 3 because it has black people in it and because someone attacks a KKK rally, it only leads me to believe that there is absolutely no reason that why if alt-right would get into mainstream culture and start reviewing games, they won't also ask for restriction of artistic expression.
Well, you think,
yeah, honestly, they can fuck off from video games. Most other things are fair game for discussion, but
you
get
think
away from my video games.
With, was it the latest Far Cry, where is it Ubisoft? I think it's Ubisoft. They released the first press image for it, and it was kind of like the Last Supper, but with a bunch of rednecks.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
both SJWs and the alt-right lost their shit.
Yeah,
the same fucking image.
Yeah, Jesus fucking Christ, let the people do whatever the fuck they want. I mean, obviously, sometimes I would wish they would tackle more sensitive issues like Islam and stuff like that. But if they don't, fine. I watched Walt Disney, Beauty and the Beast. And they had like, it was in France during the Black Plague, and they had like black aristocrats in it. And I was like a little baffled by it. And it's like, okay, let me put the time period. Noble blacks in France. There was kangs, what? But it's like, just let them do whatever the fuck they want. Obviously, I'm going to criticize them for it if it doesn't fit. But like the moment you see a trailer and you see like a picture with some Christians at a table, and you're going to flip out. Like, I think that's a little bit too far, you know.
Think of it this way: if you're doing like a reasonably historically accurate representation of some time period, let's say somewhere between 1,000 and 500 years ago, and someone wanders in with like a mobile phone, and it's not a comedy, then it's just deficient art.
I mean, look
The
at
same thing is true.
Hold on, look at B. the Anglo, right? This is the problem. He goes like, it's misleading to children. They're conditioning them to believe things they've always been this way. Okay, conditioning is something that the feminists use about rape culture by exposing people to the most benign shit. But
I don't
children,
think he's completely wrong, though.
hold on, children, BD, have parents there. And you can look at little boy Jimmy and say, Jimmy, what you're seeing on the TV screen is horseshit. It wasn't always this way. And then they go to school and they apparently learn shit. It's not that the mainstream media is supposed to educate children, because if that's the case, then you have a far bigger problem than SJW.
No, I think both, but like there's a bit of both there. I think sometimes kids are going to watch it and the parents aren't going to correct them, even if the parents know that it's wrong. And sometimes the parents just aren't going to be there.
Okay, let's think about when we grow up, right? Let's think about when we grew up and we saw nonsense on television, because God knows there was plenty of it, you know. Didn't you realize pretty fast that that's in movies and it's not in reality? Like, for instance, you know, I grew up with Xena and Buffy and a lot of strong women. Yeah, and looking around me, I noticed there aren't that strong women in real life. So it's like, okay, this is fiction.
No, I actually only got sort of aware of the biological differences on that sort of level a few years ago.
Well, I guess some people have more IQ than others. What can I say?
I mean, maybe it's that, V. Maybe it's that. But it could be a bunch of other factors. I think it varies per person. And I think it varies
like
per
you would go up and you would start to fight with a girl, like not realize that you're going to overpower her.
No, I'm not saying that I wasn't aware of the differences. I was just saying that I wasn't aware of their extent.
Well, what do you think, Wesley? Like, is the mainstream media responsible for educating people?
No, I wouldn't say that.
No.
I wouldn't say that. But they do have that effect on occasion, in some cases with some people.
Yeah, but there's the stupid people, though. And, I mean, they're going to do whatever they're going to do anyway.
Not just stupid people.
Oh.
Well, I think it depends on loads of factors.
Well, I mean, in the reason why I didn't complain about black people being in Beauty and the Beast is that I understand I will notice it, but you know what, children watching it is probably not even going to notice. It was like a dance scene. Kids don't really think that much. It's like, oh, wow, you know, like a 5-year-old or 6-year-old seeing that shit. He's not going to think about the implication, and it's like, oh, yeah, black people were always there, and it's like they were aristocrats or something.
Yeah, I can't even remember a black dude in Beauty and the Beast. So
yeah, there you go. You know, it was such a fast scene that most people didn't even realize. I realize it because I have my channel and I constantly talk about it. You know, and it's like
the race thing doesn't bother me that much, but I think there is a potential danger in letting ideology define revisionist history. I mean, it's the same thing on the right, you know, with the Holocaust. It would be better if the truth was told. If we assume that the current historical record is the truth, which it probably is, it would be better if we didn't have revisionists rewriting documentaries about the war.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the Holocaust because it's like a 6-year prison sentence in Romania if I disagree with it or something like that. So I totally agree with it. Not that I disagree, but I want to talk about something else.
For the legal record, just in case the same thing applies here, I do not in any sense deny it.
You know what? When the state gives you a 6-year prison sentence, you agree on everything. It doesn't matter what.
Well, if I had a cause to deny it, I'd be a lot less jovial about saying that than.
No, but honestly, about this, why I'm joking about this issue, you know, if you make something illegal. Like, if you want to create conspiracy theories about something, make it talk about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what. You know, it's like, for instance, in Islam, when you go to take a piss, you're supposed to be quiet because otherwise the angels see you and they see you naked. So that's a sin. I'm not kidding. That's a thing. Right?
What?
Yeah. But imagine like making it illegal.
I've got to Google that.
To question it. No, it is true, right? Make it illegal to say that angels can see you while you take a piss. And you will have people that actually start believing that, and you're going to get like real conspiracy theories. Like, well, no, there are the angels; they do see. You know? The moment you send a few people to jail for believing that, you are going to get even more.
The Earth is flat, guys.
AJ, aren't you Romanian by any chance?
AG.
AG, yeah. Isn't he Romanian? Going to report it. Going to call the police on him. I think, despite the fact that it's illegal, there was only one time in Romanian history that someone was arrested, and it was like during the communist period. So
He said yes, by the way.
oh, he's Romanian.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm going to screenshot it and send the police on him.
Oh my god. Sorry, I just have to confirm that earlier. Yes, Islam does actually have rules for pissing and shitting.
Yes, they do, of course.
Of course it does.
Why wouldn't you believe me?
You have to wipe your ass with your left hand, right?
I had to see it.
Yeah, the jinns, mate. The jinns are everywhere. You know they.
Like, well, the whole left hand, right hand thing, that makes a certain kind of sense when you remember that they didn't have toilet paper back then. Like, that's just general courtesy. But the whole thing of like not looking towards the whatever the fuck out of a sign of respect.
Well, if it's about like not making too much noise when you're pissing, I bet that's just something Muhammad found disgusting. I bet he was like really disgust sensitive.
Yeah.
No. I mean, okay. By the way, first of all, the hand thing, British toilet paper isn't really that good because when I went to the hotel, I would often end up with a finger up my ass.
Well, you're in a hotel.
Plus,
Yeah,
it's not
it is.
made for the Romanian, like that hardcore Eastern
Yeah.
Bloc shitting.
I
You're in a
have,
civilized country.
mate, I have a hard ass. It's the ass of the working man. You know, like when I go to your country, your toilet paper can't handle that shit.
So what
You're working right now,
what
V.
you're saying
You're
is your
sitting on a
arsehole is
comfortable
like
chair.
sandpaper.
No, but the thing with the, like pissing, you have to understand, like people actually believed that shit back then, that angels are real and stuff like that. And people were actually quite, how should I say, not like the Romans that had penises on every statue, if you know. And it's like, they actually have a thing with penises. Like if you go on Wikipedia and look Roman penises, like they even have a penis that has like 4 smaller penises coming out of it. Like I'm not kidding. Like the Roman art, they were crazy about flaccid penises. But when it comes to Christianity and after Islam, they were quite puritanical. So like being naked was something they would consider obscene. And the fact that they are angels, it's like, okay, when you're in the toilet, if you don't talk, the angels don't see you. And that's like making them feel as if they're not watched, I guess.
V, how often do you get emails from BBTV asking you to like partner with them?
All the fucking time.
I fucking knew it.
Like
I've just got one today.
Aren't they? Like vultures, they gather whenever you have like over 10,000 subscribers.
Who's the
They
other
want
one?
to be our partner.
There's plenty of
Broadband
them, yeah.
and TGN. That's the other one.
I haven't got any from those, but I get plenty from BBTV. Hey, BBTV, if you're being honest that you really enjoy my content and watching it and like you're aware of me and stuff, then you should see that I'm currently on this stream and you should be able to hear me say "fuck off."
Yeah. No, honestly, like, is there any single advantage with the networks? They constantly say they will promote you, and they just suck dick. And when you actually have an issue, it's like your channel gets a community strike. Do they help? No, they suck dick. Why the fuck would I ever consider giving them my hard-earned money?
Yeah. There used to be a reason for it back in the day, because that was like pretty much the only way you could get money from it, because partnerships were rare. So they partnered networks, and then networks would. But
Want to hear something funny? I'm looking at Wikipedia on socialism, and it seems like they have like Marxist like Marx-Leninism socialism, and they have a classic socialism, and then they have like religious socialism, which is like Christianity, Islamic, but they don't have national socialism on there.
I think it's time to fix it.
yeah.
I think it's because National Socialism is considered right-wing, while actual socialism is considered left. And I believe this is due to the France parliament system, where the progressives were standing to the left and the conservatives were standing to the right. And I think it's like National Socialism alludes to conservative values or, perceived conservative values, while progressive socialism, view the world as like, okay, we're moving the country forward. It's not like we're going back to the glory days. We're actually building the utopia.
Fun
And-
fact, though.
Yeah.
In terms of the left and right and the perception of like political sides, it should have been the other way around. Like it should have been the exact other way around, because
What do you mean?
the left and right hemispheres of the brain are the other way around in terms of dichotomies.
It's
I'll
not.
have to explain that at greater length at some point, but
You
yeah, the
should.
right side is creative and the left side is very ordered.
No, but it's basically what this was labeled. Why it's labeled the left? Because I was curious, like, why did they call it left and why did they call it right? And it's basically like left means
Yeah.
progress and right means conservative. So you do have people that are like, oh no, National Socialism is also left, and it depends like the point you're looking at it. But what really happens a lot of time is that Americans will apply their conservative values to other countries and think that for like what's conservative for America is going to be conservative for Britain, which is usually the other way around. It's like America was started as a conservative republic. Sorry, as a
Libertarian republic.
libertarian republic. Yes, and for Britain that's very progressive. That's not conservative. People say nothing is worse than communism. No, I think social justice is worse than communism. They finally managed to do it. At
If it
least,
took over, yeah, probably.
yeah. Like if you look at the people that dye their hair and they basically go out and block roads and they block airports. The communists had the common sense to shoot these people. Like if you are a person that didn't want to get a job and just stood on welfare, the communists would call you a social parasite and just get the police to remove you off the streets and make you work.
I think what communism does is like it replaces everything in the system with itself, but it still tries to make the system functional. What social justice does is it replaces everything in the system with itself.
Social justice is like a never-ending.
It just falls apart.
It's a never-ending stream of conflict. You can watch this. What happened to atheism plus? Perfect example. First of all, like they start eradicating all non-believers, right? So every heretic has to go. And once they kick off all the right-wingers and they kick off everyone that disagrees with them, then they start looking inside, and it's like, okay, so we're all women here. Now the black women are more oppressed, so the black women are going to have to kick all the white women. And once you have only black women, it's like, okay, we're only black women here. But lesbian women are obviously more oppressed, lesbian black women. So they're going to kick off all the non-lesbian black women. And it's like a constant struggle, a constant, just conflict. Because these people, they think themselves up as revolutionaries and they constantly need conflict to validate themselves. It's like they want to have the dogs stick on them, and they want to have like waterboards being done to them. So, like a police with a fire hose just gushing water at them. This is what they want. And they will. That's why they constantly, push the boundaries and advocate for pedophilia and advocate for like things that would make normal people cringe. Like a 6-year-old transgender is now a thing. Or sometimes they go even like for 4-year-olds, because they know it will piss off people and they will have the conflict they desire. They'll have like someone go like, no, okay, pedophilia is not cool, and it's like, well, pedophiles are people as well. Why do you judge them? Blah, 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 blah.
Well, I think what they're doing there is they're just following on the logic that they use with like the gay lobby, where there was a whole thing like born this way and sexuality, you can't do anything about it, you can't change it, it's natural. So to persecute people for that is wrong. And then it's like, yeah, but what about pedophiles?
Someone asked me if I'm going to debate Bad Mouse. I don't want to debate Bad Mouse because he throws things at me that I have to look them up. For instance, he tells me, oh, did you know that Cuba sends a lot of doctors into the other countries, like the third world? And obviously, when I hear this, I know nothing about it. And then I have to do research. And, talking with people that live in the third world, they say, the doctors that Cuba sends, they're not really doctors. They barely have any training at all. Some of them are military. And the Cuban government asks money from my government for those doctors. It's like, oh, okay. And then it's like, the place where communism works, look at Kerala. And I was like, what the fuck is Kerala? And you have to pick like the magnifying glass to find it on the map. And it's like this little country in India. And it turns out that the reason it works is because people don't actually get jobs in Kerala. They get jobs outside in the Arab states, and then they bring the money home. and it also worked until the government. Sorry, it didn't work until the government started allowing for more capitalist measures to be implemented and attracted a lot of foreign investment. And I don't know that. It's like if I would be in a discussion with him and he just brings up Kerala, I'm like, what the fuck? Not to mention, it's even in India. Like, it's not even an independent nation. It's
I think you're right, V. I think your apprehension there is correct, and it doesn't indicate any sort of deficiency on your part, or advantage or deficiency on his. But I think when it comes to citations that people use that you don't know, what you can do is ask them for details, and then usually, if they give you stuff, you can either infer bias, or you can spot some sort of logical flaw, or you can spot the argument they're making anyway.
I'm okay with the Cuban doctors. Like, what can I say with the Cuban doctors, for instance? Because for me,
you can understand the concept that the research doesn't always come from within. And that I know that you didn't necessarily beforehand, and that would be something that you would miss live, but you can always say, like, I haven't researched this, but here's what I can say.
I would constantly say it's a lot better to let him just make a video, and then I just research what he said, and I make a video.
I think that does work better in this context, yes, but I'm just saying it's not impossible.
No, I mean, obviously, I think I would crush him in a debate, but it's just, like, I did ask him for a debate. I noticed your bread mouth. But it was the thing that he said he's not available because he did a debate with someone else. I was like, oh, fine.
All right.
Like, how can you not crush someone that says that killing millions of people is okay?
Did he say that? About what? Who did he say about?
Okay, so yeah, the kulaks, they're like middle class farmers. They were, they were farmers that got some little land there, and he's like, of course, we're going to end these people if they don't give their land. And it's like, Jesus.
It always makes me laugh as well, the way they casually talk about like wars and killing people. Yeah. It's like, sometimes you just gotta,
Dude, at least if the alt-right take over, they'll make denying the dekulakization illegal. It's not necessarily a good thing.
No,
they'll finally get their revenge.
You know what the alt-right and the communists never want to talk about? The fact that after they raid Poland, both the communists and the Nazis had a joint parade. Like, I understand allying with someone out of common interest, but I think this is like a little overboard. To just have like a joint parade in Poland. It's like, and you can watch it on YouTube. It's like basically the Nazi military joining forces, and parading with the Soviets, with the Red Army.
They sound like two mortal enemies shooting at each other, and another random combatant gets caught in the crossfire. So the mortal enemies put down their guns and dance on his corpse together. This is just so fucking ridiculous.
This is what people don't want to understand. Ideology is for idiots. Politics is pragmatic. Everything about politics is pragmatism. It's like very little ideology in actual politics, unless you go to maybe some countries like North Korea where you have like a mad dictator, and okay. But usually most countries operate on pragmatism. Like, look at America. Do you ever think that if you look at America's ideology, they would ever deal with Saudi Arabia? Do you think the American people want to deal with Saudi Arabia? They do it out of pragmatism.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a balance, but the balance in terms of geopolitics is very far towards pragmatism rather than principle.
Yeah, and it's the same with American allying with the Soviets during World War II. It's like they were fighting Hitler because he was against freedom, and he was like the enemy of freedom, and blah blah blah. They were allied with Stalin. I mean, Jesus.
I think they knew less about what was going on in Russia than they did about what was going on in Germany.
Oh, they knew everything about what was going on. They have spies, and it's not like a country like America wouldn't know anything about Russia. They gave them equipment. They gave them everything. It's why Winston Churchill said, oops, we slaughtered the wrong pig.
Yeah.
Like Winston Churchill actually had this interesting idea to arm it was called Operation Unthinkable. And it was about to arm the German prisoners to send them to fight against Russia.
That does sound like something Churchill would do, to be honest with you.
And then like the next question that Churchill would have is like, what the fuck are T-34s and why are there millions of them? Well, I mean, it's interesting. There is a quote from Hitler that's on YouTube available. It's the only time he talks at a dinner table. And he says like when he entered Russia, he found factories with people tied to their workbench, just building tanks. That's what they did. It's like, what are you doing? Building tanks. How many? A lot. And it's like, this is why the Nazis couldn't imagine the huge number of tanks that the Soviets had. It's because, you know, the free worker was free to build tanks now. And yeah, like even the Germans didn't do that shit. Churchill would be fascist, anti-Semite by today's standards. The thing with like war, even like democracies and people like myself that are individualists understand that during wartime you have to do compromises on some priorities.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, with Churchill, he even did like weird shit. Like the way he treated Ireland was fucking insane. Like when he like had the black and tans and shit. And they were just basically going over there massacring people. He was the Home Secretary at the time.
Yeah.
So he does it like, you know what I mean? The best person to run your country and lead your country during a war isn't necessarily the best person to have in a position of power during peacetime, but
no.
Fuck, we had him in
vice versa. Yeah.
Romania, for instance, during war, we suspend elections. I don't know if other
they did that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, it's common sense. I'm not going to complain about it. I mean, I do understand that in times of war, you need to make compromises.
I wouldn't say suspend elections, though. I understand the reasoning, but I think like just
how are you going to get soldiers to vote? You know, that's the question. Can you understand the logistics?
I'm literally explaining it.
Okay.
What you just said was about a wartime leader not being good for peacetime. It's absolutely true, but the same is true in reverse. If you have a peacetime leader during a war, I think you would want the option to replace him with someone more appropriate for war.
That's what we had. We had.
You can't. The reason we block elections during the war is because imagine how it would be, the logistics implied to get all the soldiers to vote.
Well, that's yeah. I mean that would be difficult, but that's no reason to stop the election.
No, but what if a soldier wants to run for office? You know, it's like the entire country, the entire men that were fighting age are out there fighting. They're enrolled in the army. What if one of them wants to? You can't do this. It's not practical unless, you know, you're a country like America living on another continent, and you know, the war is not affecting you that much.
You can't do it because, like, during a war, you have operations which take a lot of planning, a lot of finance, a lot of fucking like parts moving, and you can't have the leadership of a country just randomly changing in the middle of all that shit and just saying, nope, new plan, we're gonna scrap that all and we're gonna do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, imagine that. Yeah, but it's like Operation Barbarossa. It starts and you rearrange the Führer, and the next guy goes like, you know what, bad idea, turn the tanks around.
Yeah, but the new leader would have to take into account those logistics. And assuming that you elect someone who's competent and good for the role of being a war leader, then they would. And yeah, there would be difficulty in the logistics of getting votes from all the soldiers. But if they elect someone worthwhile over someone that wasn't, it's worth it in the long run.
So hold on, because we have like two interesting points. One of them is that someone said that soldiers don't have a right to vote. Yes, and in a war, for a country like Romania, pretty much all the population is a soldier now. So you're just basically going to elect a new government based on, you know, like less than half of the population. The other point is that soldiers in the United States and Afghanistan, if they got to vote, I don't think like America mobilized like half of their population. So it's really, probably they did at their bases, but it's, again, it's not such a huge impact like a small country like Romania when we go to war. I know America did suspend freedom of speech during the First World War. They said that you're not allowed to have any sentiment against the war or against the government.
Oh, that's an American thing. You can't vote.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, but I think like even if it's not the law, imagine like if you're on the front lines in World War II, how the fuck are you voting? You know, like what are they doing? It's like, okay, do you drop your weapon and go back to the supply line where you just give the vote?
No, but you can organize it during downtime. You can, you know, take a tally and send it back to the front line. You can get messages out.
Downtime. We're like, okay, guys, stop bombing us for a bit. We have to vote. Okay, can we?
There is downtime in war.
Yeah, there is, but you don't know when it is. You don't stay,
No,
you know, like, oh, by the way, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., can we have a tea break, please? Because we're going to go out there and vote a bit.
No, but they sleep occasionally. I mean, you can just take it. You can just have like a notepad or like a clipboard in a room or just next to someone or whatever. Just where somewhere central,
Okay.
and then people can just when they're sleeping or whatever, like when they have a moment of downtime, they can just put a choice on there, and then it gets sent
Hey,
back. I mean,
over there
I'm
in the
talking
Western
about-
Front, are you sleeping? Are you can you sleep a little longer? Because the guy with the notepad is going to arrive. I need to vote. Listen, Uzulu, it's not only
You're
that.
being totally impractical, V.
Mate,
What's more, I'm talking about like World War II.
right.
In modern day, it's way easier.
Do you know the problem with like I do agree it's easier, but do you know like the biggest problem with voting is to make sure that nothing went wrong and that people aren't cheating on the voting system?
They're not likely to happen in like World War II. I don't think many people had an impetus to be dishonest in that regard. There was a massive
in
amount
voting,
of
there has been cheating during elections since the elections were invented, mate. Ever since, you know, like the first guy had to put a ball in a black box or something like that, he tried to put 2 balls. Like the moment the voting was invented, people tried to cheat.
I understand the problem in principle. I'm saying like there especially during the World Wars, there was a massive culture of just personal good conduct in the trenches. I don't think many people would do it. I agree it could be a problem, but I think the corruption rate would be less than 5%, probably much less.
Do you know what the soldiers would vote for?
Someone to end the war.
But bingo! Oh wow! Really? You think?
Yeah, I don't think so though.
And you know what?
I can win an election during wartime.
I love the irony of that though. Like everyone's stopping the war for people to vote to stop the war, whilst the other people on the other side of the trenches are going, "Please let them vote to stop this shit."
Yeah, honestly, like imagine that. It's like I think you could just lift the white flag, go to the other trenches. Like, look, we're going to have a vote to end the war. Can you please stop for a bit? You know, just
practical or not, I'm sold. Loot, I'm with you. Fuck it.
I think we found a loophole to every war. All we have to do is imagine that V's logic holds out in real life, and we'll be fine.
A country, as someone pointed out, is the most unstable during election. Now imagine doing this in wartime. People say America already changed presidents in wartime. Yes, I'm not talking about America, where you have an entire fucking continent over an ocean away from the battlefield. You know, I'm talking about a country like Romania or Germany or a European country.
Well, those countries suck anyway.
Well, even in the United Kingdom, I think you'd have an issue.
Well, if Germany's on your moat step, then maybe.
Even then, it would be like, okay. Oh my god. Yeah, I think Britain changed prime minister in 1940. But again, it's like you have a moat. If you have a moat, you can vote. Oh, U.S. had elections during the Civil War. I did not know this. This is good. How did that go?
Oh, it's good now, is it?
Well, I guess they managed to make it work. I'm really curious how influenced the election votes were.
I highly doubt that some of the problems that you're thinking of would actually manifest. I think they're worth considering in principle, but I don't think they're very major in practice.
When I was at law school, they explained why voting is taken away during wartime, and those were the arguments that I said. Basically, it would be impossible to check if the voting was done properly, and the logistics involved, and the fact that the nation is at its weakest, and the fact that soldiers would just vote to end the war and stuff like that.
I think voting to end the war is possible, but you'd have to have some pretty skillful demagoguery to convince people that are currently fighting for their lives that it's not necessary for them to fight for their lives. I mean, they've got like families back home.
You mean like the Red Army? You mean like the Communist Revolution just got Russia out of the war?
What?
The Communist Revolution. It got Russia out of World War I.
Okay.
Yeah. They had the revolution. They said that if they win, it's going to pull the soldiers out of the war. They got a lot of support because of it. They won. They pulled the soldiers out of the war.
Okay, but they weren't about to be invaded by Germany.
It was the stalemate at the front. And we're about to win, actually.
Well,
Just saying.
I don't think they were under the same kind of threat as the UK was during World War II.
Well, no, but it's like my point is that imagine fighting for so many years and you're about to win, and like okay, you still want to be pulled out of the war.
Yeah, probably because they weren't. I don't know.
Weren't actual communists.
They weren't defending; they were on the attack, and they figured like we can
It
just.
wasn't
fucking
attack or
leave it.
defend. It was trench warfare. It was a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
Trench warfare is really funny. You go out to
Although-
kill those guys, they kill you, and then you retreat, and then they attack, and then you kill them, and then you attack.
Maybe it was. Maybe the trenches were even worse for the Russians, even during World War One, before the Soviet era, than it was for
The
anyone
Germans
else.
had the best trenches. I honest to God don't understand what the fuck is with Germans making cool shit. Like everyone else that had trenches didn't have the proper sewage system. So like you had a place to potty in the back of the trench, and when it flooded, you would have like human excrements floating everywhere. But the Germans, no, they had like proper trenches with proper sewage and stuff like that.
I bet they didn't advance very quickly as a result.
I imagine
Or
like
there's some trade-off.
you know what's the downside of being in World War One rather than World War Two?
Oh yeah, there's less. I mean, you don't have automatic weapons for one thing.
No, they don't make cool video games in World War One. Someone said like the Russian army had already collapsed when the revolution happened. It doesn't matter if they wouldn't have pulled out of the war. They could have, be at the table with the other allies, demanding for land and other shit. Get the play. It was like Brexit. They left the place at the table. They left the seat at the table. No one fought harder than the Germans. Actually, the Romanians.
I think I can take Woz and I can take some degree of credit for fighting hard in World War II as a nation.
Well, I can. I don't know about you. Fucking.
People say Battlefield 1 is like a World War.
I'm sorry, Woz, are you 100 years old?
I may be. You don't know.
I didn't think oranges lived that long.
Well,
You must be pretty
Yeah.
fucking ripe.
Chaos wizards don't live much longer. You'd think they would, but AIDS.
AIDS now?
Yeah.
Hold on a bit. People say that
Calculate
Battlefield 1
man.
is a World War 1 game. I hardly disagree. Like what? I don't understand why they made Battlefield 1 instead of going into World War 2. Why they just have to make World War 1 with automatic weapons? I mean, they were rare as fuck, okay? And they didn't have the tanks with that speed. It's just like, why? Why would you do that? It really bothers me as a World War 1 enthusiast.
In terms of
No,
time
they
periods, if you wanted to play something that wasn't just arcadey, I think World War One would be somewhat more fun than World War Two. Because World War Two is a bit more like modern military shooter, a bit more, which is kind of boring. I think World War One would be more interesting because you're very limited, but at the same time it's still very mortal. And like the land ships were rare and a massive problem.
The thing with I don't understand, like the field with Battlefield 1, why couldn't they just give like slow single fire weapons, just that are very accurate, but you fire one bullet and then you have to reload.
Because unfortunately they make those games for the lowest common denominator, and I think they even aim a bit low for that as well.
But they would still be fun. You
but they
can
wouldn't.
have like bunkers that have like fixed machine guns and stuff like that.
They wouldn't sell them to the millions of Chads out there.
You think? No, I don't think so. I mean, if I think about, like in the past, Wolfenstein had like...
But that wasn't Chads, that was nerds. Look, V, if a bunch of Chads, right, are playing a first-person shooter and they keep dying, they're just going to throw that controller across the room.
They die in Battlefield 1 as well. It's just... And it's so cool because you can have like, horses, and you can still have like the high-speed combat, because obviously in video games, people aren't afraid about their lives like in reality. And
You think so, but if you play Unknown Battlegrounds, they'll fucking put paint to that shit.
we should play after this with
We should.
No, you have the game.
Everyone can
Cool.
sit in a fucking bush with a frying pan for 3 hours.
But that's
I've
the thing,
streamed some recently with V.
I just
Should you
don't
join us?
understand. Like, why would you want a World War 1 game that doesn't feel like World War 1?
If you want to sell it.
mate, World War One games would sell the same amount, especially since people wanted the World War game. There's absolutely no reason not to sell. If you have like shotguns and you have like single fire weapons,
well, then hold on. If we're saying that like realism, difficulty, complexity sells just
I'm
as
not
well
saying
as
realism difficulty. I'm saying just, most of the weapons should be
Well-
really accurate, and they should be like single fire rifles.
I think the problem with it was that they didn't think it would sell. Like they thought it would be. They thought it was too risky. They didn't want to do it originally.
So just make a World War II game. That's simple as that. Just...
fucking Chads, man. They ruin the world.
A realistic World War One game is a car simulator with missing cars, and all you occasionally get blown up by artillery. Yeah, I mean, you can still have like people picking up artillery and aiming. You can still have like horses, and you still have like machine guns that are fixed in placement. And maybe if you get a lot of kills, you get like a machine gun that's mobile, like a atomic gun or something.
Give me a list of Chads right now that play Arma 3. You can't do it. My point is proven.
The reason people don't play Arma 3, I'm not asking for Arma.
Does anybody play Arma 3?
Yeah, there's people that play Arma 3.
I think it's soldiers.
Learn something every day.
I think it's mostly soldiers.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been watching some streams with it recently. It's kind of cool.
It seems way too nerdy for me, man. People going contact and shit.
Someone asked me if I studied infectious diseases or pathology. Someone asked me if I studied infectious diseases or pathology. When I say that I studied microbiology, that's what it's called in Romania, and it's basically the discipline that handles bacteria, viruses, and fungi. I don't know how it translates in the US specialty. Now, yeah, you can resume talking about what you want to talk.
You think it's weird to yell contact? You literally own PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. If you want to do well in that, you have to learn some basic lingo.
But you ain't played PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds with me, okay? So I'm just saying that. Just putting that out there.
Are you going to lose every time?
I play to have fun. That's what I play.
I would not like to play with it.
I knew it. I knew it.
Correct. Playing to have fun is playing to dick around. That's what.
Put it this way. Playing, if I'm like, say rank, it's got down to about 10 or 11, and I walk past a hut that I've been standing next to for about 2 minutes, and someone inside that hut suddenly shoots me, I'm disgusted that they stayed there for that long.
Well, you're probably very disgusted at how I play.
I probably am. Probably sit like those fucking what are they called again? The fucking fuckboy sheds all along the road, the roads. But you're constantly hiding in those, aren't you?
The way I play, mate, is the only way you should play, which is to win.
I play to win, but I play to.
No, you play to dick around. You don't get the chicken dinner.
I get the chicken dinners.
You get the chicken dinner?
I get the chicken dinner.
Hey V, you remember that time that we were playing together and you did really badly and I didn't?
Yeah, I remember playing with you and you talking about all the useless shit, so I couldn't hear the guy sneaking up on me. I remember that quite well. But yeah, that is exactly quite why. And the fact that you were on the rooftop and couldn't see the guys getting inside the building, and I was like, oh, who's always on the rooftop? No one is getting in. I can just loot myself. That's fine. I don't hear the guy going contact.
I don't have 360-degree vision. What's more, right? What's more?
There were two faggots on the roof. Like one in a corner, another in a corner can cover the entire area.
I think you're just trying to make excuses for your social awkwardness around Eliza and Ezekiel.
It's really awkward when they're on the roof and they don't see two guys getting in. Not one guy, two guys getting in.
Well, I was covering one side, Eliza was covering the other, but there was a big area that we couldn't see. We don't have 360-degree vision, and if we'd moved to cover that area, we would have missed the other area. 2 is not enough to cover the school building. You should have been on the bloody roof then, shouldn't you?
And then if all of us are on the roof, who is supposed to loot? The gypsy?
We'd already looted. We'd already looted, dude.
You weren't already looted because that's what I was doing. I was looting. It was like some really good gear. I found like the scope.
So what you're saying here is that the gypsy was stealing things. Everyone else was doing their duty guarding so that the gypsy didn't get
It's
killed.
not like I didn't call you down because I
they
found the
didn't-
level 3 bullet vest.
But they didn't do their duty perfectly, and so now it's the guard's fault that the gypsy got killed while he was stealing.
It's totally not what happened. Is the fact that
It sounds like you play a different game to me. I don't know.
And then, right, immediately after V gets killed by these two, I come in, right? I come into the corridor. They know I'm coming. They've seen me. They're third personing around the door. They know I'm there. There's two of them. They're on the team. I'm on my own with a shotgun in a corridor. And I fucking twitch skill. Kill both of them. Don't take a single hit. It was amazing. And I recorded it. And it's brilliant. And I showed V up, to be honest.
I'm not saying that the guys had amazing skill. All I'm saying is that if you don't shut the fuck up, I might have been able to hear their footsteps. It's like when I'm playing with you, I might as well turn off the game sound because it doesn't really matter.
Why don't you just turn us down?
And then when you say contact, in the unlikely event that that will ever happen,
Hold on, did they actually yell contact?
no, they don't tell contact. They didn't say
Okay.
anything.
I do sometimes, but I rarely see anyone. I've played for like 4 or 5 hours in total, like 4 or 5 games, and I've actually played the game for about 15 minutes total.
Yeah, people.
don't
He
wanna look
doesn't
at
see
that.
anyone, but people see him most of the times.
Holy fuck, 275 hours. That's a lot of time.
Jesus, I'm really new to it. I only bought the game like a few days ago.
Yeah, the thing that I hate the most is that the quality of the game is really shit. I honestly hope that a AAA company would make a game similar to this.
What do you mean by quality?
It takes like 5 minutes for the houses to fucking render after you go down. So many bugs. It's sometimes it freezes, network crashes, that kind of shit.
I haven't had any of those problems, to be honest.
I've had some of the network stuff.
Okay.
The graphical issues, not so much.
Mm.
But I turn my graphics way down. Everything's on
Yeah,
very low.
I have mine on lowest. What graphics card do you have?
970 GTX.
What the fuck? Of course we have the same fucking graphics card. Okay, so what kind of usage, what kind of load do you get on your graphics card while you're playing on lowest?
To be honest with you know what? I used to check that shit, and now I just stopped giving a fuck.
Fair enough. I created some monitors to like some graphs that are constantly on my screen.
You
When-
know what? I'm
When I
going to
build a
close
computer,
this.
I did that.
I'm going to close the stream because I want to play some Battlegrounds now. If you guys want to join, sure. We guys.
Not now, but another time, sure.
Okay. So thank you guys for being here.
Was as a faggot.
Fucking-
Was this a fact?